Hey there, and welcome to Patriot Jewel. We are enjoying the show. Trump is draining the swamp, and I'd like to get a little bit more in depth about why the Trump administration has shut down USAID. Here we have an expose by Evita of the Dan Bongino Report Show, and I think she sums it up expertly. Let me know what you think in the comments.
As of yesterday, the USAID website has gone dark, completely shut down. Senior USAID workers attempting to thwart Trump have also been laid off or put on leave, so trying to thwart his clamping down on USAID. And this is the most amazing report that I've seen in the wake of this USAID essentially being obliterated by President Trump. The Associated Press reports the new leaders at USAID, hired by President Trump really recently, abruptly laid off contractors who made up about half the workforce in the agency's humanitarian bureau Tuesday, knocking them out of systems so that some vanished in the middle of video conferences. So it was like Thanos, like Trump he snaps his fingers, no warning, USAID grinds to an immediate halt. They're kicked out of their own video conferences. There was no delays, there's no bureaucracy, it's done. And it's clear that Trump is serious about the reforms to the federal government. He is so serious. Now, we don't know if he plans to dissolve or restructure USAID legally. I believe that only Congress could totally abolish the agency, but Trump can use executive action to limit all of their funding, restructure the agency to effectively abolish it. But let's talk about what USAID really is, because if you don't know what USAID is, you're probably thinking, well, Avita, that's really mean. You're really excited about getting rid of aid to foreign countries? Right now, Democrat senators and bureaucrats are shrieking that Trump has essentially yanked food and water out of the hands of starving foreign children. And of course, that's what USAID says it allegedly does, provide humanitarian aid to needy foreign countries. But this could not be further from the truth. There is no aid in the USAID acronym. USAID stands for United States Agency for International Development. And here is deep state whistleblower and former State Department official Mike Benz explaining a little more.
There's no aid in USAID, by the way. That's your brain is being tricked when you see the phrase USAID. It's not an aid organization. The aid in USAID stands for U.S. Agency for International Development. It is developing internationally around the world all of the institutions that the State Department needs to use. It was created because you had all of this intelligence, statecraft, and military support and logistical aid that was tripping over itself, basically. The military would be funding, would be running aid to certain groups in the region. The State Department would be running aid to certain groups in the region. The intelligence community would, and there was no sort of central coordinator of those capacity building operations. So USAID, by the way, is a $50 billion budget. The entirety of the intelligence community is only $72 billion. So it is as more than the CIA and more than the State Department.
Wow.
And aid is basically, USAID is effectively a switch player to assist the Pentagon with on the national security front, to assist the State Department on the national interest front, or to assist the intelligence community on a sort of clandestine operations front.
So USAID is clearly not about aid. It's about coordinating covert operations overseas. USAID has funded coups in Haiti, Ukraine, and Egypt. In 2014, it was revealed that, per the Associated Press, beginning as early as October of 2009 under the Obama administration, a project overseen by USAID sent Venezuelan, Costa Rican, and Peruvian young people to Cuba in hopes of ginning up rebellion. The travelers worked undercover, often posing as tourists, and they traveled around the island scouting for people that they could turn into political activists. And in one case, the workers formed an HIV prevention workshop that memos called the perfect excuse. That's a quote, perfect excuse for the program's political goals. So in other words, USAID set up fake aid prevention workshops to topple a foreign government. Per Mike Benz, USAID funded an NGO to put hundreds of people in censorship training seminars on how to best flag Donald Trump's tweets for misinformation. It funded the production of heroin in Afghanistan and paid $20 million to hit peace journalists to dig up dirt on Rudy Giuliani, which was then used, this dirt, to impeach President Trump in 2019. USAID also funded the Wuhan Institute of Virology, the famous Chinese lab that likely sparked the COVID pandemic. It handed funds to the infamous EcoHealth Alliance, $53 million to be exact, and over $1 million of those funds we know for a fact went to the Wuhan Institute of Virology. This is why the CIA, for years, up until literally a few weeks ago, has lied about the origins of COVID. The CIA wanted to conceal its likely role in funneling U.S. taxpayer dollars through USAID to gain-of-function research at the Wuhan lab. And admitting the truth would not only implicate U.S. intelligence agencies in dangerous biological research, it could also expose USAID's broader function as a CIA front for covert operations worldwide. And there are many instances of these very unethical and frankly unaccountable operations. Here's what Bukele, the president of El Salvador, said in response to President Trump's decision to essentially nuke USAID. While marketed as support for development, democracy, and human rights, the majority of these funds are funneled into opposition groups, NGOs with political agendas, and destabilizing movements. At best, maybe 10% of the money reaches real projects that help people in need. There are such cases, but the rest is used to fuel dissent, finance protests, and undermine administrations that refuse to align with the globalist agenda. Cutting this so-called aid isn't just beneficial for the United States, it's also a big win for the rest of the world. What has Trump done by freezing USAID? He's crippled the U.S. intelligence apparatus, which is not only a rogue and abusive network, but also made an enemy out of Trump himself with the Russia collusion hoax and the Hunter Biden laptop cover-up. Trump's not playing around. This is legit war with the deep state. It's also why, by the way, Trump is firing all FBI agents and DOJ prosecutors who worked on the January 6th witch hunt and classified documents case. Turns out there are consequences to raiding the president's home and throwing his supporters in solitary confinement. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to talk tariffs. And I'm sorry to Canadians in the chat, but...
Welcome to Patriot Jewel, the voice of conservative women.
Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No.
But my overarching objective, if we cannot make significant progress on racial equity, this country is doomed. It is doomed not just because of African Americans, but because by 2040, this country is going to be minority white European. You hear me? This country is doomed.
Patriot Jewel, though we may have visual similarities to liberal losers, we are not like them.